The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Ethan Miller stared at the unknown number glowing on his screen, his finger hovering over the decline button. Late-night calls were never good news. But something, instinct, curiosity, fate, made him answer. "Hello?" The voice on the other end was broken, trembling. Is this Ethan Miller?" "Yes, who's this?" A pause, heavy breathing. Then, "My name is Claire Anderson. We met 16 years ago in Boston at that medical conference." Ethan's mind raced backward through time, searching for the memory. Boston, the conference, a hotel bar, a woman with kind eyes and nervous laughter. One night, one mistake, or so he'd thought. They'd exchanged no numbers, made no promises. It was supposed to be forgotten. I remember," he said slowly. "Ethan, I need you to listen to me." Her voice cracked. "You have a daughter. Her name is Lily. She's 16 years old and she's dying." The words didn't land immediately. They hovered in the air like smoke, shapeless and impossible to grasp. "What?" I know I should have told you. God, I should have told you years ago." Claire was crying now, her words tumbling out in gasps. "But she needs you. The doctors say you're the only match. You're the only one who can save her." Ethan sat down hard on his couch, his heart pounding against his ribs. "I don't understand. What's wrong with her?" "Aplastic anemia. Her bone marrow is failing. Without a transplant, she has weeks, maybe less." Claire's voice dropped to a whisper. "Please, I'm begging you. Come to Philadelphia. St. Mary's Hospital, just please." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat in the darkness of his apartment, staring at nothing, trying to comprehend the earthquake that had just split his life in two. A daughter. He had a daughter. By dawn, he was on the road. The 4-hour drive to Philadelphia felt both endless and too short. His mind churned with questions, anger, fear. Why hadn't Claire told him? What kind of person was Lily? Would she hate him for being absent? Could he even go through with this? But beneath all the noise was one clear, undeniable truth. A child, his child, was dying. And he was her only chance. St. Mary's Hospital rose before him like a fortress of glass and steel. Ethan's hands shook as he pushed through the revolving doors into the antiseptic. Brightness of the lobby. The smell hit him immediately. Disinfectant, floor polish, and something else. Fear, hope, desperation. Claire was waiting near the elevator bank. Ethan recognized her instantly, though 16 years had etched lines around her eyes and threaded silver through her dark hair. She looked hollowed out, a woman running on nothing but maternal desperation. Their eyes met. For a moment, neither spoke. "Thank you for coming," Claire finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Where is she?" "5th floor. Transplant unit." Claire pressed the elevator button with a trembling hand. "Ethan, before you see her, there are things you need to know." "I need to see her first." The elevator ride was silent. Ethan watched the numbers climb, each floor bringing him closer to a reality he still couldn't fully accept. The transplant unit was quiet. The lighting dimmed for the late morning hour. Nurses moved like ghosts between rooms. Claire led him down a corridor to a window that looked into a private room. "She's sleeping," Claire whispered. Ethan stepped forward and looked through the glass. She was small in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. An IV line snaked into her left arm. Her skin was pale, too pale, and dark circles shadowed her closed eyes. But even in sleep, even sick, he could see it. The shape of her face, the curve of her nose, his mother's chin, his own dark hair spread across the pillow. His daughter, the weight of it crushed the air from his lungs. 16 years. 16 years of birthdays, first days of school, skinned knees, bedtime stories. All of it had happened without him. And now she was dying. "She knows," Claire said quietly beside him. "I told her about you last week after the doctors said we needed to find you. She was angry at first, confused, but when I explained why we needed you, she trailed off. She wants to meet you." Ethan couldn't speak. He pressed his palm against the glass, as if he could somehow reach through and touch her. The medical consultation happened 2 hours. Later, in a small office that smelled of coffee and stress, Dr. Rashid, the head of the transplant team, was a woman in her 50s with intelligent eyes and a direct manner. "Mr. Miller, I'll be straightforward. Lily's condition is critical. Her bone marrow has almost completely stopped producing blood cells. Without a transplant within the next 2 weeks, her organs will begin to fail." Ethan nodded, his throat tight. "And you think I'm a match?" "We've reviewed the genetic markers Claire provided. There's a very high probability you're compatible, but we'll need to run confirmation tests today. If you are indeed a match, we can schedule the transplant within the week." "What are the risks?" Dr. Rashid folded her hands on the desk. "For you, minimal. The procedure is done under anesthesia. You'll experience some pain and fatigue afterward, but full recovery is expected within weeks. For Lily," she paused, "the transplant itself carries significant risks. Infection, organ damage, graft versus host disease. But without it, she has no chance." "Then let's do the tests," Ethan said immediately. They drew his blood in a small room with a single window overlooking the parking lot. Ethan watched the vials fill with dark red, each one representing a piece of the puzzle that would determine if he could save the daughter he'd just learned existed. "Results will take 48 hours, the nurse said as she labeled the last tube. 48 hours. 2 days of waiting, wondering, hoping. Claire found him in the hospital cafeteria that afternoon, staring at a cup of coffee he hadn't touched. "She's awake," Claire said. "She wants to meet you." Panic flashed through Ethan's chest. "I don't know what to say to her." "The truth." Claire sat down across from him. "Ethan, I owe you an explanation about why I never told you." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." Claire's eyes were red-rimmed but dry. "After that night, I went home and tried to forget about it. I was engaged to someone else. When I found out I was pregnant, I panicked. I broke off the engagement. I tried to find you, but I only had your first name and a vague memory of where you said you worked. And then," she looked down at her hands, "then I convinced myself it was easier this way, that you didn't need to know, that I could handle it alone." "Did you?" Ethan asked quietly. "Handle it alone?" "My parents helped. They loved Lily from the moment she was born. But every birthday, every Father's Day, every time she asked about you," Claire's voice broke, "I told her you didn't know about her, that it wasn't your fault. But she grew up with a hole in her heart shaped like you, and that's on me." Ethan reached across the table and took her hand. "Take me to her." Lily was sitting up in bed when they entered, her eyes sharp and alert despite the exhaustion etched on her face. She studied Ethan as he approached, and he felt himself being measured, evaluated, judged. "So you're him," she said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "I'm him," Ethan replied, stopping at the foot of her bed. "I'm your father." "Little late for that, don't you think?" The words stung, but he nodded. "You're right. I'm 16 years late, and I can't change that. But I'm here now." Lily's expression flickered. Anger, hurt, curiosity all warring on her face. "Mom says you didn't know about me." "I didn't. If I had, I would have been there. I swear to you, I would have been there." For a long moment, Lily said nothing. Then, "Do you have other kids?" "No." "Wife, girlfriend?" "No." "Why not?" The question caught him off guard. I don't know. I guess I never found the right person. Never felt ready." Lily laughed, a bitter sound. "Well, ready or not, here I am. Your dying daughter." "You're not dying," Ethan said firmly, moving closer to her bedside. "I'm going to be a match, and we're going to fix this." "What if you're not?" "I will be." Lily looked at him for a long moment, her eyes, his eyes, searching his face. "You don't know that." "No," Ethan admitted, "but I believe it, and I need you to believe it too." Something softened in Lily's expression. She looked away, blinking rapidly. "I'm scared." The admission broke something open in Ethan's chest. He sat down in the chair beside her bed and took her hand. Small, cold, fragile. "I'm scared too." The next 2 days were the longest of Ethan's life. He stayed at a hotel 3 blocks from the hospital, but he spent most of his time in Lily's room. They talked about everything and nothing. Her love of photography, his work as an architect, her friends at school, his childhood in Oregon. Tell me about your parents, Lily asked on the second afternoon. My grandparents. Ethan smiled. My dad was a carpenter, built our whole house with his own hands. He died when I was 25. Heart attack. And my mom. His voice caught. She would have loved you. She passed 3 years ago. Cancer. I'm sorry, Lily said softly. She always wanted grandchildren. Used to bug me about it constantly. Ethan squeezed Lily's hand. I wish you could have met her. Me too. That evening, Dr. Rashid found Ethan in the waiting room. Her face was neutral, giving nothing away. We have the results, she said. Ethan stood, his heart hammering. And? You're a match, Mr. Miller, a perfect match. The relief hit him like a physical blow. He sat back down hard, his head in his hands. We can schedule the transplant for Friday morning, Dr. Rashid continued. 3 days from now. That gives us time to prepare both of you. Ethan looked up. What do I need to do? Come with me. We'll go over everything. Friday morning arrived cold and grey. Ethan had barely slept, his mind racing through every possible outcome, every worst-case scenario. At 5 a.m., he was already dressed and pacing his hotel room. At 6, he was back at the hospital. Claire met him outside the pre-op area. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. How is she? Ethan asked, scared, trying to be brave. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Thank you for doing this, for being here. I know you didn't have to. Yes, I did, Ethan interrupted gently. She's my daughter. They let him see Lily before they took her to surgery. She was small in the hospital gown, an IV already in place, but her eyes were clear and determined. Hey, Dad, she said, and the word, Dad, nearly undid him. Hey, kiddo. He sat on the edge of her bed. You ready? Are you? As ready as I'll ever be. Lily reached for his hand. I'm glad you came. I'm glad I got to meet you, even if this doesn't work. It's going to work, Ethan said fiercely. And then we're going to have years and years to make up for lost time. I'm going to teach you terrible dad jokes and embarrass you in front of your friends and be annoyingly overprotective about dating. She laughed, tears streaming down her face. Promise? I promise. Ethan leaned forward and kissed her forehead. I love you, Lily. I know I have no right to say that yet, but it's true. I love you. I love you too, she whispered. The extraction procedure took 3 hours. Ethan woke up in recovery with a deep ache in his lower back and pelvis, but all he cared about was whether they'd gotten enough marrow. Plenty, the nurse assured him. Dr. Rashid says it's perfect. They're doing Lily's transplant right now. The next hours were agony. Ethan sat in the waiting room with Claire, both of them too tense to speak. The clock on the wall ticked forward with cruel slowness. Finally, Dr. Rashid emerged, still in her surgical scrubs. The transplant went well, she said, and both Ethan and Claire gasped with relief. Lily's stable. Now we wait. The next 72 hours are critical. Her body needs to accept the new marrow. Can we see her? Ethan asked. She's in recovery. Once she's moved back to her room, yes. Those 3 days were the hardest. Lily developed a fever on the second day, and Ethan felt his world collapse. But the medical team worked tirelessly, adjusting medications, monitoring every vital sign. On the morning of the 4th day, the fever broke. Her blood counts are rising, Dr. Rashid said, unable to hide her smile. The marrow is engrafting. It's working. Ethan sat beside Lily's bed, holding her hand as she slept. She looked better already, more color in her cheeks, less strain around her eyes. He thought about the future, about teaching her to drive, about meeting her prom date at the door with a stern look and a flashlight, about walking her down the aisle someday, decades from now, about being her father. Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Dad? I'm here, Ethan said. I'm right here. Did it work? It worked. You're going to be okay. Lily smiled, tears leaking from the corners of her eyes. We're going to be okay. Yeah, Ethan said, his own tears falling freely now. We are. 2 weeks later, Ethan stood at Lily's hospital window, watching the sun rise over Philadelphia. She was being discharged today, her recovery proceeding faster than anyone had hoped. There would be months of follow-up care, careful monitoring, medications. But she was going to live. Behind him, he heard Lily and Claire talking, laughing about something. The sound filled him with a joy so profound it hurt. He thought about that phone call 2 weeks ago, the one that had shattered his quiet, simple life. The one that had given him back something he didn't know he'd lost. A daughter, a family, a reason. Lily appeared at his side, still pale but steady on her feet. She slipped her hand into his. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Ethan looked down at her, this brave, brilliant girl who had survived against impossible odds. This daughter he'd found just in time. "I'm thinking about second chances," he said, "and how lucky I am." Lily leaned her head against his shoulder. "We both are." And standing there in the morning light, Ethan Miller understood that while he couldn't reclaim the past 16 years, he had something infinitely more precious. The future. Every day, every moment, every chance to be the father he was always meant to be. Not just by blood, but by love, by choice, by showing up.